Welcome to Category 5 Technology TV, episode number 431 for Tuesday, the 22nd of December, 2015. Say hi to Jeff. And
Hello, Jeff.
I'm Robbie.
Hey, Rob.
I'm your host. Don't call me Rob. Only my mom gets away with
All
that.
right, Robbie.
You will get beats, man.
All right, fair.
All right.
Robbie.
I am your host, and incidentally, I am also operating the camera tonight. So, if I can pull that off, I expect to receive presents.
I will see what I can find here in the studio to give you.
Okay.
If I had known there was an award show tonight, maybe I would have picked up a little something special.
Well, hey,
Participants ribbon, maybe?
where are you going with this?
You wanted an award. If you could pull off the
that's what
camera.
you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, ribbon's fine. Maybe a trophy.
All right, what if your prize was going through another celebration of Gimp? It's 20 years of the GNU image manipulation system, and we're going to be doing our continuation of the Gimp tips.
Nice.
We got 20 weeks of them, and tonight we're going to be looking at levels on dealing with underexposed and overexposed pictures.
Oh, I love that.
Should be good times.
Very cool. Also, we have plans to do some nifty builds, and if you ever break your teeny drone, we need to be able to replace motors and things like that.
Yes.
There are some really cool things happening in 2016, and we're going to have to learn how to solder in order to do those things.
Ooh.
So tonight, Jeff, we're going to start with some really basic stuff. We're going to take a broken pair of headphones and replace the plug. It's just going to get us started so that we can get our feet wet with regards to solder and electronics repair.
I'm excited.
What's coming up in the news, my man?
Well, coming up in the news, if I can just switch over here. Bear with me.
I don't know if you can.
I don't think I can. Hold on.
It's the button right there.
There we
It's
go.
the big button that
Here,
says news.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's going to be one of those shows, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's what's coming up in the Category 5.tv newsroom. Toshiba is cutting nearly 7,000 jobs in an effort to recover some of their terrible profit loss. Facebook has finally switched their video player to HTML5, and effective immediately, U.S. drone pilots over the age of 13 must register their drone. Airplane Skydecks are going to give you the best window seats ever, and Netflix socks pause your video when you fall asleep. Stick around, the full details are coming up later in the show.
This is Category 5 Technology TV. Starring Sasha Dermatis, Hillary Rumble, and your host, Robbie Ferguson.
Welcome back. This is Category 5 Technology TV, and welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure to hear from viewers, and it's especially neat when we hear from a viewer who maybe we haven't heard from in a long time, maybe we have never heard from. A lot of viewers watch Category 5 Technology TV, some of our other shows as well. Today, I got an email from Daryl Mills from North Carolina, and he was having trouble with the RSS feeds. So it was nice to be able to hear from Daryl and get those all fixed up for him. So, hey, Daryl, thanks for watching. Daryl has been watching since 2007.
That's like right near the beginning.
Right near the beginning. Could be right at episode 1. Who knows?
Wow.
Interesting to hear from you, Daryl, how you heard of Category 5 Technology TV. It's always neat when someone starts in season 1. You know, what is it that made you find Category 5? Because when we first started this thing up, there was not a lot of internet TV.
No.
There was internet radio. Live 365 was big. Shoutcast was a lot bigger than it is now. And but video was almost unheard of. So.
Yeah, that's true. And especially a show like this. I mean, there are still people doing their, filming whatever's on their screen with the audio in the background, but not a lot of this.
Yeah, like screencasts and stuff.
Yeah.
And so you'd hear their voice and you'd see the screen, but we've done a little bit more like TV, I guess.
We do it better.
Well,
I like to think so.
I like to hope so. But there's something to be said about good screencasts too.
That's true.
Especially when you can really get a sense of, if I'm looking for a tutorial on how to do, how to use certain software, sometimes a screencast is the best way. You don't necessarily need witty banter like you get here at Category 5 Technology TV.
But it is a good time.
It is a good time. If you were watching a screencast, how could I possibly fly a teeny drone?
Oh,
I even have like a teeny drone cam now. Whoa.
That's impressive. Flying a teeny drone and operating the camera. Wow.
I know. I am very impressive, Jeff.
Wow.
If you want to impress your friends as much as I just impressed Jeff and you at home, you can win a couple of these. We're actually giving away 2 teeny drones. These are quite literally the world's smallest drone. They fit in the palm of your hand. But what's nice about the teeny drone is that the controller, unlike the drone, has not been shrunk down. So it is a full size and feels like a really good controller in your hands. Some of these micro drones that are coming out, and you'll see them around Christmas time, the controller they've shrunk down as well.
Very small, yeah.
So some of them, you've got this little tiny thing, or sometimes it's operated by your cell phone, your smartphone.
Yep.
I don't really like that because I like the tactile feel.
Yes.
Nice thing about teeny drones too is that you are able to really get a sense for flying a quadcopter. Even though that thing's teeny, you can all of a sudden transition once you've learned well enough and you've crashed this thing a bunch of times.
That never happens.
It's a very small investment. You can get a bigger drone and then you're flying because you've already learned on a teeny drone. So that's cool. I want to give away 2 of these. And the way you can do that is simply by supporting Category 5 Technology TV and the Category 5 TV network. Jeff knows all about it. You go over to patreon.com/Category 5. And all that we ask is for every week of broadcasting, that's basically every episode of Category 5 Technology TV or every episode of New Every Day, depending on which is your favorite show, and the other shows that we bring out on a weekly basis as well. So basically every week, just contribute a quarter, 25 cents.
Just nothing.
That's the starting point. So, I mean, that's all we ask. And then the first 100 people who participate in that by contributing 25 cents or more will be entered into a draw to win 2 teeny drones. So you'll be able to race a friend, you'll be able to charge one, fly the other, and they are a blast. Have you been playing with yours?
I have been playing with mine. We've got, on one of our floors, we've got these pillars, and so I'm trying to fly.
Oh, you're getting...
in between.
That's tricky.
It's still pretty pathetic, I must say. I don't have very good coordination, but my kids enjoy watching me crash. So
the kids love it.
Yeah.
As a dad, the kids just absolutely love watching me fly this thing and crash this thing.
Yes.
You know what happened? I just hit like the fan, and it like, that's how tiny it is. They're so much fun. But
a lot of fun.
I went, I learned on the teeny drone, and then I upgraded to a SEMA X5C-1. You maybe have seen those on the Drone Zone. And now I've got my eyes peeled on an Aton.
Yeah, you showed me that. That looks nice.
Praxis just sent out a release yesterday, day before yesterday, on their new Aton quad. It has 3 flight modes. So you start in like a beginner mode.
Yep.
Beyond all beginner modes, because it does have GPS, so you can set it and let it fly. There's a button that returns it home. There's a button called air brakes that basically, if you are about to crash, you push that button and it stops.
That's awesome.
Oh,
I
boy.
need that.
That is perfect for if you're teaching the kids
Yes.
to play with it. Because these fly really well. They go up to about 80 feet in the air. So you can, if the kids get a hold of it and gun it, and then Dad is like frantically going, no!
That's right. Watch out for the trees.
So having that little air brakes button is going to be pretty cool. But the Aton has also a gimbal, so you can put your GoPro or your your SJ Cam SJ4000 on there, and it does nice video, so you can do video. And then you can remove the gimbal assembly, and you can race it. And it goes up to 50 miles an hour.
50 miles?
Yeah, like 80 kilometers an hour.
That's fast. That'll hurt if it hits you in the eye.
Oh yeah, want to be careful. That's the new Aton from Traxxas. I'm really keeping my eye on that one. That's going to be, I think, the next step.
You're always looking for the next step.
I know. I hate to make you hooked on something, guys, but these teeny drones are where it all starts.
It's true. It's true.
If you don't think you're going to win, go to cat5.tv/teeny drones. And I think what's fun about it is that you learn how to fly, and so you learn that, hey, I can actually do this. Mm-hmm. I can actually fly a quadcopter. And because the investment is so small,
that's right,
and no pun intended, because the investment is so small, you can start at that and you can feel confident. I wouldn't go out and buy a $3,000 drone and then crash it and lose $3,000. Like, this is something that you can buy for $60 or something like that.
Right.
And you're up and flying, and then you upgrade from there.
Right.
So you can kind of work your way up. I think it's fun.
It is.
So thank you to those who have been supporting us on Patreon and through our various affiliate partners. A lot of people shopping for Christmas shopping as well as underwear on Amazon. We appreciate that. I just picked up a new case on Amazon for this BlackBerry, which was donated and given to me because I guess somebody overheard that my phone was kind of crummy. And also that I basically bash BlackBerry a lot. And so they gave me a BlackBerry and said, "Here, give it a try. No catch. Here you go. Give it a try." And I'm actually kind of like it. Yeah. I don't like their app store, the BlackBerry world. It's very limited as far as how many apps there are. But for someone like me who basically uses email, Facebook, it's really all that I need.
But that's why they're, if I understand correctly, BlackBerry is integrating into the Google Play Store.
Well, I saw that they were maybe working on Android. Are they bringing Android to it, or do you think BlackBerry
Android
10?
uses the Google Play Store? So basically, you've got the
BlackBerry
iTunes
10?
App Store. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the 10. I don't know what versions it'll be available for, but I know they're looking at merging the two. So
is that the BlackBerry is failing miserably and they have to find other ways to make money?
Possibly.
Could be. BlackBerry.
Could be.
Canadian company. But it actually operates pretty good, and it is a step up from what I had, and the battery lasts for a good full day.
Well, it's good.
My other one was dying at about 11 o'clock in the morning, so...
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool, but I appreciate when people contribute those kind of things too, because that is something that, I've just never invested in, but I don't use a phone very much.
See,
people think that's
all the
weird
time
because I'm a tech guy.
Yeah.
And I literally, that will stay in my pocket all day long.
But see, you love your computers.
True.
I like my mobile
I am
devices.
very old school. If I had a tablet, I would buy a Bluetooth keyboard so that I could type on it. I would find a tablet with USB so I could use a mouse or a trackball.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm just like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's how I am. I am old school.
That's all right.
But the phone is good for if the alarm goes off here at the studio, for example, they need to be able to get a hold of me. So that's important. So that's really what it's about for me, being able to text my wife and tell her how hot she is. Well, that kind of stuff.
Those important things in life.
Yeah. The really important stuff.
All right. So yeah.
And is that what you got for me?
That's what I got for you.
I think you're about to say something, and he says, "So yeah."
Yeah. I don't remember. It was one of those brain farts.
See where it says Jeff?
Yep.
No, I'm just talk about Patreon. Here we go. Talk about Patreon. Blah 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 blah, and then Jeff. It literally says Jeff.
It does say Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
All right.
That's okay. We can edit that all out. Nobody will ever see that.
Category5.tv is a member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. cat5.tv/TPN and the International Association of Internet Broadcasters, cat5.tv/IAIB.
Okay. Now that the viewers know what's next on the list, let's talk about the Gimp. GNU image manipulation program. I love it. It's absolutely free. It is an image manipulation program. It's in the name. So what is that? Photoshop
It's an image
alternative?
manipulation program.
Yeah. It's a program that manipulates images, if you want to do it backwards.
That's right.
Program that manipulates images, GNU.
Yeah. But you're right. It is a good Photoshop alternative.
Absolutely.
And especially for anybody who's running Linux. That way you don't have to do a VM or anything like that.
You say that, but it runs on Mac and Windows as well.
I know. But people just have this mindset. If it's Windows, it's Photoshop. And if
it's Mac, I just got money to blow. So
pretty much, yeah.
So why bother with a free one when I can pay $1,000?
Yeah.
That's the Mac mindset.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tonight, we've got week 5 of our 20 Weeks of GIMP series, GIMP Tips. And that is because the GIMP, the GNU Image Manipulation Program, has celebrated its 20th year of providing free image manipulation software to the community at large. So with week 5, tonight we are looking at the Levels tool. You've heard me mention it a few times as we're looking at the GIMP because it's something that I use quite often. But I was reminded in the chat room and through email that, hey, we haven't actually really spent any time on the Levels tool. Let's learn a little bit more about how that works and what we can do with that. So tonight we're going to look at how we can kind of correct, very simply using the Levels tool, either overexposed or underexposed images. You know what those are?
I do, yes. So the overexposed is where everything's really, really white almost.
Good example would be a selfie where your flash is on.
Yes.
Right? So your flash goes off, and because it's so close, all of a sudden you're whitewashed.
Yes. And the underexposed, you can't see anything. Too dark.
Very dark.
No flash.
Poor lighting, or your flash didn't go off for some reason. Maybe you had the wrong setting on your camera, and it was like that Kodak moment, but I missed it because the flash didn't go off.
Yes.
Or the lighting was poor, or... sometimes it could also be the case where the subject is too far away. You're taking a picture of someone up on the stage. Christmas time, the kids are doing their Christmas play at the church or at school. You zoom in and it's dark up there. It's underexposed because your flash just simply doesn't reach that far.
Right. Yep.
So with Levels, we can't make the image perfect. Well, you can do pretty good if you've got a raw image, but most cameras, consumer cameras anyways, these days are shooting in JPEG. So it's a lossy process. You do lose quality in the process. However, you can really bring about some improvements to the images. So I've brought up a couple of images here that are available for us to use for free. This is one, for example, that to me looks a little underexposed. It's fairly dark. You can't really see the image too much, and it is artistic as well. So I believe that the photographer may have been using the darkness as a bit of a depressive state for the subject as well. However, we can bring that up in GIMP and kind of brighten it up and make it look a little bit more natural as far as the lighting goes. You'll see that this is free for commercial use with no attribution required. Licensed under CCO public domain. Thank you for making that available to us. So I've simply opened this image, Jeff, in the GIMP. And now on the previous episode when we set up our hotkeys, I set up Control-Alt-L, and that is to mimic the behavior of Photoshop when you press that key combination. However, we can also get there, if you haven't done that yet, by right-clicking, going Colors, and then Levels. So here you see a bit of a spectrum analysis, if you will, of the image itself. So on the left-hand side, we're looking at shadows. On the right-hand side, we're looking at highlights. And you can see that it drops off completely right in the middle, just a little bit to the right of the middle. The black line in the spectrum completely drops off. And that means there really aren't a lot of highlights on that end of the spectrum. So by grabbing the highlight triangle here at the bottom, see that I'm grabbing that? Maybe what I'll do is I'll turn on my mouse cursor for you just so that you can see it. I guess you can't see my mouse cursor. That's unfortunate. But so down at the bottom right here is what I'm clicking on. See that triangle? Click there. And I drag this in toward the black line that is dropping off right there. And as I do that, do you see what happens to the image? So here's the original. Now as I bring this highlight in, I'm saying, okay, this is where the highlights start. And over on the left, I've got a shadow triangle. I can bring that into approximately where the shadows start. And that gives me a much clearer, brighter image of the man. If I turn off that preview, you'll see instantly that that's the original. That's with the levels enhanced. So now I can take this middle one and I can bring that in toward the shadows, and that will brighten it up a little bit because I'm adding more highlights. Or I can move more to the right, which is to add more shadows. See that? So what I want to do is I want to bring it in a little bit to the left. Not overly, because you don't want to whitewash the image. See what happens? Although sometimes what's interesting is you can bring it up high enough that you can start to see objects and items in the background. So if you're trying to see if someone's in a photo in the dark, you can see them by doing something like that. You'll see objects and things in the room that you couldn't see in the original photo. especially if it's raw, then you're really going to bring it out. So I can enhance that about, I would say, to there. And that's really brought up the kind of the highlights and the brightness of that image without skewing the quality of the image too much. So if I turn off the preview again, there's the original as provided on the web, and there's my enhanced copy. And all I did was that quick little fix with my levels. Now these levels are going to be different for every image, and it's all based on the spectrum. So you can almost do it visually based on the spectrum, and that's a pretty easy way to do it. Let's look at another one. Here's an obviously underexposed picture of some lilies. You can't see anything in the background at all. What do you think this is? Maybe lilies on a table?
Could be.
Looks like a bouquet or something like that. You can't tell anything about the room that it's in or where it is. So let's bring that up into the Gimp. And this image, as far as the licensing goes, this one is provided for us, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution, Share Alike 2.5 generic. This is provided by Listig, and thank you, Listig, for providing this. Now, we're not actually sharing the image. We're gonna demonstrate this tool, though, Listig, and we appreciate you making that available to us. Okay, so there's the picture. Let's bring up our levels tool, same way, and you'll see, wow, that's really underexposed. There are no highlights there. In fact, it tapers off before the middle point. So as I start to bring that right highlight triangle in, watch what happens to the image. My flowers start to brighten up, brighter and brighter and brighter. But notice it doesn't really skew the image. Now, if I go too far, it's going to really overexpose them. But what do we start to see?
Well, you see that it's actually outside, which goes with the previous image that you had in talking about what's in the background. So I mean, as you went really far to get rid of all the low lights, you start to see it looks like trees in the background. So that's a great example of seeing what's in the background that you can't normally see.
Good point. So let's grab that. Now that I've brought this in, I don't want to bring it quite to where it tapers off there, and that's because we're getting really into the shadow end of the spectrum here, and I don't want to go too far because then we're going to add a little bit of fakeness to the colorization and to the light. But I'm going to grab this middle triangle here, and I'm going to increase the highlights a little bit more, which in turn decreases the shadows. And you can definitely see that we've got shrubbery in the background. We can clearly see the color of the stems. It looks quite nice all of a sudden. See that? So now, once again, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit on this image because it is a bit smaller. So let's turn off the preview. That's the original. So that's what I pulled off the web, and it is a JPEG, so we're not working with raw imagery here. And let's turn back on my preview after I've enhanced it, and it makes a rather substantial difference. Let's move down a little bit, remove the preview. There's the original, and here's my enhanced version. There we have it. So it makes a huge difference, eh?
Absolutely.
And so simple. It's something that we can do really, really quickly to any of our images. You want to get the hang of it and never overwrite your master image. So let's say you undersaturate a picture that you take of your kids. Mm-hmm. Bring it up into the Gimp, fix it up, but save it as something else.
Right.
Don't overwrite the original because, one, you might get better at it as time goes on, but two, technology could improve even further, and we may be able to do it in a less lossy way down the road. That's quite possible. Certainly GIMP 2.9, we're starting to see some really big enhancements on the quality end of things when you make these kinds of changes. So make sure you keep a non-destructive copy so we're not overwriting those files. Okay.
Now, we've got a question from the chat room saying, what are the auto levels like on GIMP?
Auto levels I would tend to stay away from, generally speaking, but it can be handy as a kind of a quick fix if you're not too sure where to pull the levels.
Okay.
But it's always better, I think, to bring up the spectrum yourself, and then you can slide it and you can gauge how things should be. And a good example would be the next photo that we're going to be working on. This one is very overexposed. And the reason that I would stay away from auto levels with this, for example, what do you notice that the asphalt here is pretty much white?
Yeah.
it's so overexposed that it's white. So what's going to happen if I use auto levels on that is that it's going to think that is white. And so the levels are not going to be correct no matter what auto levels tries to do, because it doesn't have our human intellect to say, no, that's supposed to be asphalt.
Makes sense.
Right. So when we look at that, we look at it with a different eye. And so auto is just not something that we're going to necessarily use. So I'm going to bring up that particular image in the GNU image manipulation program. And now what we're doing is something completely the opposite of what we've been doing so far. We were enhancing the light. Now we're going to enhance the shadows and bring down the light. You'll notice, though, one of the things with oversaturated photos, and this one is a severe case. See the children, for example? There's not a lot of data to their faces because it's so whitewashed that there's no way that we can recreate their faces perfectly. The best thing that we can do is enhance the image, make it look a little bit better, make it so that it prints nicer, that it displays nicer on the screen. Unfortunately, realistically, there's no way that we can, in one fell swoop, really quickly enhance their faces and fix it up.
Right.
Someone would have to trace over and work that really, really hard. Now we're going to do something nice and quick, which is just simply improve the shadows of that photograph. So here we are. So the first thing I want to do is bring up levels, and I look at the spectrum, and whoa, it's all highlights. And not only is it all highlights, but it tapers off before the quarter mark. It's ridiculously overexposed. So what I want to do, now I don't want to bring the shadows in all the way, because if I do that, watch what's going to happen. It's going to create this red hue. It has this kind of 80s retro look to it. That's not going to do the job for us. But what we can do is we can say, the highlights and shadows should end around here. This is, the middle point is about here. So I can do that, and we can see that it starts to enhance it a little bit, but we want to try to avoid the fake kind of look to the photo, because if you get too far into the shadows, it's going to add kind of a cartoony look to it, and the colors aren't quite right, which we can enhance and fix. But now I'm dragging this middle slider and just bringing that in just a little bit so that I can enhance that a little bit. And you can see the greens in the trees are looking a lot better. The piano looks a lot more realistic as far as the colors go. I want to bring up the highlights just a bit because we're starting to get too many shadows on faces and things. And now if I look at that photo, let's bring it in a little bit. Might be good to focus on kind of one area. So here's an area here. Let's turn off the preview. That's how whitewashed it was. See the greens in the background in particular. See the lady taking a photo there, and the clarinet player. If I turn back on my preview, see how they just come out?
Right.
So it almost enhances edges as well. The fence in the background, you can really start to see that a lot better. And that is the Levels tool, which is included in the free GNU image manipulation program. So we can do a lot with it, and you can get creative with it. You can use it to add some brightness to a photo if you want to enhance. Like I use wedding photos as a good example. Sometimes it's nice to add a little bit of a white kind of wash to it.
Yep.
And Levels can help with that. We can create like a blurred copy of the layer on top, which is something that we'll cover down the road. And then we can set that overlay to a certain opacity that will work with it, and then enhance the light of it so that it really brings out a shimmer in the photograph. There are different tricks like that. And Levels is a tool that you really want to play around with because it's going to enhance your photos for you exponentially. And I think that's a pretty good example to show you. So looking back at our underexposed image, let's go back to the gentleman. There's the original. And then our first example was there is the enhanced copy. That's the Levels tool from the GNU image manipulation program. And you can get that for free at gimp.org for Windows, Linux, and Mac. Thanks, folks. Hope you're enjoying the series, and appreciate all your emails coming in. You can email me live at category5.tv. Also, commenting below if you're on YouTube. We really appreciate that. Make sure you also hit the subscribe button and that little thumbs up. Don't push the thumbs down one, though. That one we don't.
That'll wreck your
we don't
computer.
Want. Yeah.
Don't do it.
It installs viruses.
Yes, bad ones.
All right, so we're ready to head on over to the newsroom here. I think I'm frantically spinning around my desktop here trying to find it. It's here somewhere.
It is.
I
You know
assure
what? You're doing just about everything tonight. I'm just sitting back and
Did I mention I'm running the cameras?
You have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, I do think you need that award.
This is what happens around Christmas time, is that people take time off. So it's just Jeff and I.
I could have had time off?
No.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
I had to say that, otherwise he would have up and gone right now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. We need to do the news, though. It's important. All right. Take it away, my man.
All right. It's Tuesday, December 22nd, 2015, and here are the stories we're covering this week. Troubled tech company Toshiba is bleeding out around 550 billion yen each year, and it's cutting nearly 7,000 jobs to try and make up for it. Facebook has finally switched over their video player to HTML5. Effective immediately, U.S. drone pilots over the age of 13 must register their drone. Airplane Skydecks are going to give you the best window seats ever, and Netflix socks pause your video when you fall asleep. These stories are coming right up, so don't go anywhere.
You've got mad skills. Now hone them. Learn new skills or improve your existing ones with online video tutorials and training from lynda.com through our special link at cat5.tv/Lynda. Learn software, technology, creative, and business skills you can use today to help you achieve your professional goals. Join today and start learning. We'll give you this chance to try it absolutely free with unlimited access to all of the courses. Sign up now for free, cat5.tv/Lynda.
I'm Jeff Weston, filling in for Sasha Dermatis, and here are the top stories we're covering from the Category5.tv newsroom. Troubled Japanese conglomerate Toshiba has said it will report a record 550 billion yen annual loss and cut 6,800 jobs as it carries out some restructuring. That's roughly $4.5 billion US. The company, whose products range from laptops to TVs to nuclear energy, is shedding the jobs in its consumer electronics division. News of the predicted losses sent shares in Toshiba down by nearly 10%. The restructuring comes after Toshiba admitted earlier this year that it had overstated profits for the last 6 years. The scandal led to the resignation of Toshiba's president, and their vice president took over as chief executive and president. As part of its restructuring, Toshiba will sell its TV and washing machine manufacturing plant in Indonesia to Hong Kong-based TV maker Skyworth for about 3 billion yen. It's also looking for investors for its healthcare business. The 6,800 job cuts will go on in its lifestyle division, and essentially that's the consumer electronics business, and Toshiba said the cuts would be made by March. Toshiba, which was founded in 1875 and launched the world's first mass-market laptop in 1985.
What?
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Computers in 1885.
The computer in 1885, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, currently they employ around 200,000 people. Its shares have lost about 40% of its value since news of the profit overstatement began to emerge in April. Some of Toshiba's problems go back to the tsunami which hit Japan in 2011, and this struck the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, which operates and in the process of decommissioning. Toshiba has not yet fully calculated the impact of the nuclear disaster on its books.
I didn't even realize that they ran that plant.
I didn't know that either. That was a big
that's
deal.
That's a big blow to them, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
See what happens.
All right, and from the, oh my gosh, why did it take them so long files, Facebook has finally stopped using Adobe's Flash technology to show video across the entire social network.
Nice.
Instead, Facebook has developed a video player built around the widely used HTML5 technology. Games on Facebook will still use Flash, but they're looking for ways to change those also. The site is one among many that have turned away from Flash. Many see it as a security problem because bugs in it are often exploited by cyber thieves. Daniel Bollig, a front-end developer at Facebook, said the switch to HTML5 had helped the firm speed up the development of its video handling system. In addition, he said the HTML5 video player worked much better with accessibility tools such as screen readers that are used by people who do not see well. By contrast, YouTube made a similar switch to HTML5 nearly a year ago. A U.S. government registration system for Americans who own drones has gone live. New rules governing drone ownership require anyone aged 13 or over who owns one of the craft to add their details to the registrar. Anyone who gets a drone in the U.S. must now register with the Federal Aviation Administration before it goes on its maiden flight. Existing owners have until February 19th to put their details online. The new rules took effect today, so if you're getting a drone for Christmas, make sure that you register. Anyone who does not comply could face hefty fines up to $27,500. Wow. To encourage drone pilots to register, the $5 fee is being waived for the next 30 days. Some people are happy with their aisle seat, and those who are not, there's a target market for wind speed aircraft Skydeck, a transparent rooftop pod that grants panoramic views to two very lucky and very rich travelers when there's nothing good on the movie channel. The Skydeck can be carved into the top or ostensibly the bottom of any aircraft, according to the Auto Evolution. The windowed pods are shaped like a teardrop and positioned near the back of the plane to minimize drag, though some tempering of the craft's aerodynamics is inevitable. Having fewer passengers on board, thanks to the extra weight, will help make this more palatable for other passengers, while the exorbitant cost of flying pod class will ensure airlines still make a profit. The aircraft Skydeck has been in development for over a year now, and there's no word on when it will come into reality, but it's sure to make joining the Mile High Club a more singular experience, because we all know someone's going to go there.
I would. If I was super duper rich, I'd be like, put me in the Skydome thing.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
That would work.
That'd be very nice.
That'd be amazing. Could you imagine being able to see panoramic?
That'd be awesome.
That would be more than just a flight. That'd be a ride.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a 2-hour ride if you're flying for 2 hours. Think about flying for, I mean, it must be hugely expensive though.
Yeah, I would think so. I would like to know what the fuel cost is for that drag. And is that in turn, is that going to affect seat prices for the rest of the year? I don't know.
In order to put it up there so that rich people can sit there eating their caviar.
That's right.
Everyone else's seat prices go up. I could see that.
Well, yeah. But while they're getting a panoramic view, they're not watching Netflix.
That's true.
Which leads us to our next story.
Oh.
Netflix isn't punking anyone. Netflix socks are real. And actually, they're kind of ingenious. Instead of throwing bags of money at a corny TV commercial, Netflix decided to get creative for the holidays. The company has posted a step-by-step guide for creating Netflix socks. Socks that automatically pause the video on your TV when you fall asleep. So how do the socks work? Well, the socks are powered by the Android microcontroller and
the Arduino.
Arduino. Yeah, there we go.
I threw in a word there that was new to you.
Yeah, that is a new one to me. Anyway, the Arduino microcontroller and an accelerometer is used to detect motion. When the accelerometer detects that you've stopped moving, an LED light will flash red and send a signal to your TV to tell it to pause the video. Netflix says the accelerometer is picked for this do-it-yourself project, and it can detect the subtlest movements, so it's good at detecting when you're sitting still, watching Netflix, and when you're actually falling asleep. You can stuff the electronics in an old pair of socks, but what's the fun in that? There's 17 different sock patterns that you can knit based on Netflix shows like Bloodline, BoJack Horseman, and Daredevil.
Oh my goodness. This is like a team effort.
Very much so.
That is terrible. But okay, I'm going to sit here soldering an Arduino while you knit the socks for me. Here are the templates.
Yes, pretty much.
Here are my templates. They've got it all covered. No word yet whether it detects if you're dead.
Well, if you stop moving.
I guess how long does, if Netflix is paused for 20 hours, it figures something's wrong. It pages the ambulance.
I don't know.
That's
a good question. That'll be the next version of socks.
The
Netflix Socks
version.
2.0 maybe. But be warned, you will need to get your hands a little dirty. The project requires a little bit of soldering and programming. Convenient, we're covering soldering tonight. As long as you can follow the instructions, you should be fine. Big thanks this week to Scott Jackson, Roy W. Nash, and our community of viewers for submitting stories to us. If you found a news story you'd like to send, email it to newsroom@category5.tv. For all your tech news with a slight Linux bias, visit the category5.tv newsroom at newsroom.category5.tv. For the category5.tv newsroom, I'm Jeff Weston, filling in for Sasha Dermatis.
Thanks, Jeff. This is Category 5 Technology TV. Welcome to the show. Got to clear some desk space here because we are going to do some soldering.
Awesome.
Nice. There we go. Ooh. Okay. Oh, you had a question in the chat room, didn't you?
I did?
Yeah? Something about teeny drones.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
While we're on the topic of teeny drones, what was the question?
So Bob K54 went to buy a teeny drone and they're sold out.
And these things are awesome, and everybody knows it, and that's why they're sold out. If they are sold out, I'll tell you what, we have had a challenge keeping them in stock. That's
Very
for
much
sure. But we had a boat land last Monday in Quebec, and so those are being shipped. So we're going to have stock in the warehouse very, very soon, momentarily. If you haven't seen one yet, make sure you keep checking. Pre-order if you can. They are coming back. We're just trying to keep up with the Christmas demand. A lot of them are sold. I won't get into numbers, but you could say we didn't expect to sell this many teeny drones.
No.
It has been fantastic.
And if you're in the U.S. and bought one, register.
They're awesome. Would you have to register a teeny drone? Like there must be.
It's a drone.
It's got to be at least 2 inches. Come on. Seriously. Could you imagine registering this with the FAA?
Well, do you want to risk? I mean, there's no $5 fee for the next 30 days. So do you want to risk the possibility of a $27,000
Could you imagine?
fine?
Like compare this to anything. Look at Jeff's mouse. Okay, there's his mouse. There's a teeny drone. It's like
little.
It's like the button on his mouse.
I don't know.
That would be crazy. Pay $5 free till the end of the year.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to get into soldering because over the course of the next little while, we're going to be doing some more advanced projects. And so I thought, let's get into kind of the basics, the very most basics for those of you who have never done soldering before. And I know it's a little bit intimidating. I was kind of monitoring comments and things around this topic and people asking some fairly simple questions about, if I were to take the wires that have disconnected on this device and solder them back together, will it work again? And quite often that's the case, and we just don't necessarily know how to do the soldering. So tonight we're gonna cover that for you. My son has his headphones, and the plug has died, and we know that because you plug it in, put on the headphones, and you jiggle it right here, and it's staticky and comes in and out. Right. So you can kind of feel the wire and find out where it is that it's broken, and then we're gonna cut it about a couple of inches away from where that break is, just like that. So now we've got a plug that's dead. We can toss that in the e-waste, and then we've got this bad boy here. So it's just a simple cable. Now you brought an interesting soldering apparatus here because I've brought my soldering kit.
And that is a kit indeed.
Well, it's my first soldering iron, and I've never had to replace it. This is a Teeny Drone's crash kit, by the way. So if you've bought a Teeny Drone and you've crashed it and you've broken one of the motors or whatever, these are the kinds of things we're going to be learning to solder. So there are motors there for Teeny Drones. There are extra parts. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to be starting with and then getting into some more advanced stuff. So what do you got? I've got my good old school 36 watt kind of thing or whatever it is. Yeah, 35 watt.
Yep.
That you plug into 110 volts.
So I've gone wireless. Found these at the hardware store. Runs off 3 AA batteries.
Does it get hot enough?
Oh, dude. Yeah, very much so.
I'm curious about this because this is great.
So,
but you do have to plug it in, let it heat up for a while.
Yeah, and this is pretty much instant. It takes about 1.5 seconds to heat up in order to melt.
No.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's quick.
That's nuts. Okay, I'm going to set mine within arm's reach because I don't believe you for a second.
Okay. So if we can switch to the little camera here.
Sure.
So it's...
can you buy these on Amazon? Can people do that through... Give it a try.
I have no clue.
Soldering tools?
Yeah, this is a Weller. Okay. So, but it's just a simple on-off button. Now it's not on right now because I have to push down that little black button. But when I do...
It's like a child-proof safety kind of thing?
You'll see the red light comes on.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
And right about now, it would be hot enough to...
Don't touch it. Don't lick it.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell if it's hot, if it burns a hole through your tongue.
Pretty much, yes. Fail-safe method.
So let's look at soldering. Okay, first of all, is it soldering or soldering?
I thought it was soldering.
Soldering?
Potato, really? Maybe?
we grew up here in Canada. I grew up hearing soldering with like as if
With
the
a
L
D.
is silent.
Yeah.
How is the L silent? What is with Canadianisms? I'm in Canada and I don't get it.
I don't know. It's
So
always
should we
been
split the
solder to
difference?
me.
Solder?
Solder.
Like
sod is in
it's
the
almost,
dirt.
It's like comb. Comb Wilkinson.
Yes,
It's like
yes.
the L is there, but it's not quite pronounced.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
We like to make it difficult.
Okay.
And then we apologize
We'll go with
for it.
solder. Solder. Let's do some soldering, folks. Okay, tonight we're going to solder this headphone jack. All right. Safety first. Always important because solder could fling up into your eye.
I got the double glasses going on. This is. Hold on. There we go. Can't see worth anything, but now I'm protected.
Okay. I actually got these for when I fly the teeny drone around the kids because at first I was really bad at it.
Oh, you know what? I didn't need these for my first
So
flight.
put these on, kids, just in case, because Dad's going for a flight. All right. So the solder is like a bendy wire here, and the bendy wire is going to. This one contains lead. They're starting to not contain as much lead these days because people are aware of their carcinogenic properties and the health dangers to it. This one's 40% lead, and the nice thing about having lead is that the melting point is lower, so you don't have to have a lot of heat. This one has a rosin core, which tells me that it is made for electronic soldering.
Okay, rosin, not resin.
Correct.
Okay.
Rosin. And we'll talk a little bit about that just so that you have a little bit of knowledge about that. Also, I can tell that this is electronic solder because it says so. So
Pretty straightforward.
That kind of helps too. It's called electronic rosin core solder. Okay, so what does rosin core mean?
No clue.
Neither do I, so we're moving on. No, I'm just kidding. There's acid core.
Okay.
Which is an awesome rock band. You should check them out. There's Rosin Core, which sounds like a planet out of Star Wars.
It does, yes.
And then there is Resin Core. And then there's also No Core, which would be really hard to melt. I think you would probably need a welding torch.
Probably.
If you see that it has a acid core, then it's going to be for soldering pipework, like plumbing.
Okay.
Plumbing.
Yep.
You don't want to use acid core solder on your electronics because it's actually going to damage, could actually eat away at some of the components. So that's where rosin core comes in. Rosin is a tree extract from pine trees. And resin is a derivative of that. It's like a purified version of that, or it could also be synthetic so that it's more pure.
Right.
So with a rosin core, this one is probably derived from pine trees. So what does that mean? Well, the sap from a pine tree, for example, is very sticky, and it also it will evaporate. So they put that in here so that as you're soldering, it will stick a little better than just, say, melted metal.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So the core actually helps it to adhere to whatever it is that you're soldering. So this one being rosin, yours might be resin. Just make sure it's not acid core because that's going to damage your electronic components. And I guess I'm not sure of the regulations here in Canada. There are probably places that would say if I'm going to build something. Say I was going to make something with an Arduino and I was using this solder because this one has 40% lead, I might not be allowed to sell that product because it has more lead than is acceptable by the regulations, I guess. So for this purpose, I can use it here. And because this is my child's headphones, I might even consider going with a lead-free alternative solder because then you don't have that carcinogenic compound on the headphones. In this particular case, now I've picked these up on Amazon, and it's just a little 5-pack of gold plug replacements. You can see that there's a sleeve that goes over top, so I'm not concerned about the lead because it's going to be encased within this, and it's going to be safely enclosed until he opens it and puts it in his mouth, because that's what kids do. Okay. So you can see how the internal components work, but let's pull apart these wires and get inside. Now, we've got just a standard wire stripper. I don't know, how much is this worth, Jeff?
It was about $10.
$10? Okay. Yeah. And you could probably, pick one of these up anywhere. It cuts the wires, as you can see. And then we just get our wire in there and give it a pull. That's a little bit too big. Find the one that's the right size. There we go. And what that did is it stripped away the outer casing of the wire, which is there for protection. There we are. So each side has two different wires. There's a colored one that's in a sealed wrap, and there's a ground, a neutral as well. So the neutrals can be placed together. The other ones are left and right. Red typically is going to be right. I guess it helps that it starts with R, but that's probably just a fluke.
Maybe intentional. You never know.
This one has blue and red. So red is most likely always going to be right. It could be different though, and you can always test it to find out whether it is or not. Let's see if the stripper is going to get into this. This is a really tiny wire. Really itty bitty. It's not even going to be small enough.
Probably not.
Is this where we use our teeth? Can we use our teeth on international TV?
Don't do this at home, kids.
Look away.
Should have brought...
What you are about to see is not recommended for children under 18. Notice I have not applied the lead yet.
I have noticed that.
Okay.
So you've kicked the lead eating habit?
Let's see. Okay. There we go. So I've just kind of revealed the wire underneath. Here we are. Okay. So if we twist that just ever so slightly, that's going to give us a stronger wire to solder. And I've got the neutrals together.
So one tip that we've been given from the chat room is Dooley is saying use one side of the stripper and then your thumbnail and just...
Oh yeah, okay. So you could, when it's really, really fine there, like this is 20 to 22 gauge, and it wouldn't even strip that. So of course it's you may have to improvise, but it works anyways. Yep. Now with these particular wires, it's one of these weird shielded cables. So what I need to actually do is just use an X-Acto knife or a very fine blade and just scrape ever so gently. My teeth aren't going to cut it here. And as I do that, I can immediately see that it's exposing the wires underneath, which I can twist together. And you can see if I can get the camera to focus on it. Let's see if it does. You can see how I've been able to expose the blue here, which had that fine coating, as you can see from the lower part of the cable. Okay, so yeah, thank you. All right, so let's get a look here. So we've got this long one in the middle here, and you can follow it, but that's going to be the tip. No, that's not the tip. That's the outer ring. So that is, if we use this part here is the long portion here. So this is the neutral. This here is right, so the one in the middle there, and this is left on the tip. So the tip we're going to place on the one that makes contact with the tip, which we can see is this one right here. Okay. This one here is on the second piece, which is the right. And the long one here is the neutral, which is here. If you see an extra line, another black line, that means that your the plug that you've chosen is also compatible with a microphone.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a microphone, you would need to figure out which tip is which and make sure that you basically solder to the right pieces. Okay? So typically what I'm going to do in a case like this, because it has holes here, I'm going to push that through the hole, I guess from either side, but I can get just a little bit through the hole, and that's going to just hold it in place for me so that it's kind of there and ready to be soldered. So, folks, if you're in the chat room, let me know if you can see that okay. I want to make sure. Now, can I try your soldering apparatus? So you say that this is going to get hot enough?
In about a second and a half.
In a second and a half.
Yep.
And does it cool quickly as well?
Yeah, it cools off in about 4 seconds. It's pretty quick.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I've used it at home several times. So,
okay, I'll just put that in there. See if now what would be really, really nice here, Jeff, would be alligator clamps or a helping hand.
Right.
And what I kind of want to show is you don't necessarily need to have all that stuff. It's nice to have it because it would help me to hold the wire
Makes
in place.
it easier.
Those are the clamps that you can order those off of Amazon. You can. Well, we thought you could pick them up at a hardware store or something, but we had some trouble, didn't we?
Oh,
Just doesn't exist.
it's painful trying to find them.
That's nuts. Okay, so all I've done is I've just kind of lined up that wire there, and let's give this. I want to give this thing a try because this is kind of cool.
So you push down the black button.
Hold
Once
the black button.
Yep, you got the light on. Oh.
You have to hold it. The light turned off as soon as I let go. So do I hold the black button?
I do believe you do. It's been a while since I've used it.
If I let go, it turns off.
Give that a try. I do believe the light has to be on to heat up.
Okay. So let's just see how hot this is getting. Oh my goodness, are you serious?
I'm serious.
I love this thing. Note to self. This is also toxic fumes, so you probably don't want to breathe this in. Just kind of try to stay away from it. That is amazing. So what we want to do is we want to get just a little bit of solder on the tip here, and that just kind of gets the soldering iron ready. You're my fan.
I'm your fan.
And you'll notice I'm just using a bamboo cutting board here, and that works just fine. You can use a sponge if you want to, but this is going to get us in. So what I need to do, it's a little awkward on camera, but I just want to heat up the wire just ever so slightly to prepare it for the solder, and then touch the solder here and get it in there. And I could prep the wire as well. You can see that that's on there now. And we just want to put enough solder that it's going to hold it all together. And this is a conductive solder as well, so this is going to it's going to actually make a connection to that wire. This thing's great. It's cooled off. But I love it. 3 AA batteries, you say?
Yeah. It's really cheap. And it came with the batteries.
And it's not much more than the one that I bought.
That's portable.
This is indeed awkward without clamps. I would love to have clamps. And I know you're having trouble seeing that, I'm sure, at home. Don't breathe in, Robbie. Normally I would just touch a little bit of solder, but because it's kind of rolling around, here we go. That's okay. There. Oh, come on. Jeff, we need clamps.
We do need clamps.
Yeah. So you don't want to have too much solder. And one note is that, okay, that's fine. Once you've soldered once, you may have to add a little bit more solder because there's no more rosin there.
Right.
So there's nothing that's making it adhere. And by heating up the wire just ever so slightly, I'm making it so that the wire is more receptive to receiving that solder, and it's going to kind of wick it up a little bit. Right. And that helps it to adhere as well. Now, I've got a fairly large amount of solder there. I wouldn't normally have that much, but just that's just the way that it ended up here. So I've got the tip is going to be my green because that's left, or could be blue. And I can wick that, or I can get that wire started here just by adding a little bit of solder to it. Jeff, do you mind holding down on, just push down on that with your finger, and I'm just going to get a bit of solder on there. Heat up the wire a bit. And if you can get those alligator clamps, they're going to make a huge difference for you. The idea is to get it to stick to the wire before I stick it on there. This is about the world's simplest. There we go. So I got a bit of solder on there. That just kind of gets it ready. The simplest soldering job. Okay. So I can put that on the tip. Just kind of like so. And if you could just hold that down again for me, Jeff. I want to just kind of drop a little bit of solder on there. There we go. And then So now we've got a nice little solder joint there for the tip. And then we've just got one more to place here. And that is literally all there is to it. It's nice and simple. That's kind of a quick tutorial. The one thing that I just realized, Jeff, that I didn't do, and I want you to remember to do this at home, is I didn't put on the sleeve ahead of time.
Right.
So I'm going to have to cut that and start over. That's okay. I'm not, it doesn't hurt, but I want to make sure that that is on there so that I can pull that up and then screw it on. But that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to finish it up right after the show, but we're completely out of time. But you can see that that's a fairly simple thing to do. And the stuff that we're going to be getting into is going to be a whole lot more sophisticated than 3 wires on a pair of headphones.
Yes.
But that kind of gives you an idea. Hopefully we're not afraid of solder. I really like this thing.
And we didn't burn the house down.
We didn't burn the house down. I've got a cutting board here just to kind of protect the surface, but it's probably not even necessary once you get a little good at it. I'm not that great, but we'll get good together.
Excellent.
We didn't even need these.
No,
I didn't even splash you with hot solder.
Well, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm going to go get myself one of these. Check on Amazon, see if you can find one of these, and then use our coupon code or our affiliate link on category5.tv. Mm-hmm. Go to support the show, and you'll see a link for our partners, and then you can follow through to Amazon. And, of course, there are the traditional soldering irons as well, and I even ran an extension cord, Jeff, because I didn't know you were going to be bringing such a cool little device. This is only, it's only 6 watts, and yet it got hot enough to melt my solder there just fine.
Yeah, and quick enough. I mean, you didn't have to wait for that to heat up even.
There were a couple of points there where it didn't want to really stick to the to the wire, and it's possible that a hotter iron would help with that.
Yes.
Certainly removing, for something like this will work fine. You might have some trouble with this when you're removing existing solder.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Because it's not going to get as hot.
Yeah.
One of the tricks that you can do with that is keeping in mind that the solder, you don't want to damage the electronic components. So say I'm removing a chip. The amount of time it would take me to hold the soldering iron to the bottom of that chip to remove it would probably damage the board, the chip. So that can be a problem. So what you do is first heat up some solder on the iron itself, then touch it to that. And that solder, because the solder is so hot, it gets a better contact with the existing solder joint, and you're going to be able to pull that off a lot easier with less potential for damage to the components. But I did notice that it wasn't quite as hot as I was trying to do attach the solder to the wire, and you probably noticed that. But it definitely worked well. I like that. That's cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody. Send us your emails with your questions. If you've got some ideas, things that you'd like us to solder together, that'd be cool. And in the meantime, thank you so much.
Why am I fearing those emails?
Yeah.
Please put these together.
Can you stick 2 pens together?
There's somebody out there.
There is.
That will email that to us.
Yeah. We could put, like this came with 5. Why don't we attach all 5 of them? Like an octo headphone.
Oh, good times.
That's all the time we got.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff. And Merry Christmas to everybody who's watching.
Yes.
And even
Merry
if you're
Christmas.
not watching, Merry Christmas to you. That would be weird. How did you get this message? But Merry Christmas. Hope everybody has a wonderful season. We will be back live again next Tuesday night. Kelsey Jensen is going to be joining us. Also, Sasha Dermatis. That's what happens, folks, when it's a holiday.
Excellent.
Right? So we'll talk to you on the 29th. And in the meantime, Jeff, good to see you, man.
You too, and well done on camera and hosting tonight.
I push the buttons and everything.
Your award is this pen, which
That's
was
my
already...
pen.
It was, yes.
Oh.
But there you go.
That's a nice pen.
Congratulations.
Thanks, buddy. Jerk. Merry Christmas to you, too. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Category 5 TV broadcasts live from Barrie, Ontario, Canada every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching this on demand or through cable TV, check out the local showtimes in your area at category5.tv and find out when you can watch live and interact in the community chat room. Category 5 is a production of Prodigy Digital Solutions and is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 2.5 Canada. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm going to try this again, and this time I'm going to put that on, and it's going to be awesome.